What is up, and welcome to Me, You, and Switch 2. I am me, Tom Tate, and you are you. So let's talk about Switch 2. This is the latest and greatest Nintendo Switch 2 news, brought to you every Tuesday and Friday in snackable 5 to 10 minute episodes. Today happens to be Friday, May 29th. It is 7:53 a.m. on the East Coast. This is episode 104. I hope that you are having a great week and getting ready to glide on into the weekend. Before I get into today's episode, which is packed with mostly Mina the Hollower reviews, which are looking amazing, and some exciting new game announcements, I just wanted to issue a quick correction. So before I begin, I record these episodes in the morning with no editing, and I just wake up, drive my kids to school, I come home, I record, I export, I publish, and later in the day, I will listen to the episodes, and sometimes I say some pretty weird stuff that just bothers me. So on Tuesday, I did not have a cup of coffee. I gave a shout out to our veterans for Memorial Day, and then I extended that shout out to all veterans who died while serving our country and their families. And shout out was obviously not the right turn of phrase there. And of course, I meant in remembrance and in honor of all veterans who died while serving. So I was listening back, and it just made me cringe, and it's been bothering me all week. It just came out so odd and so wrong. So I'm issuing a quick correction. If that felt irreverent and even disrespectful to anyone, I apologize. I was listening to it, and it just bugged me all week. So without that out of the way, let's get into the news. So as I mentioned, and as the title probably suggests, today is Mina the Hollower Day. It is releasing for $19.99. It is live right now in the Nintendo Store, and I probably read 10 reviews for this game over the past couple of days. They are all overwhelmingly positive. So we'll take a quick look at what reviewers liked and didn't like about this game, and maybe it'll help you make a decision if this is a game that is for you. So if you don't know, this game is a retro throwback style game from Yacht Club Games. They developed one of my favorite retro throwbacks, and that was Shovel Knight way back in the day. I remember playing that on the 3DS at first. That was the first console I played it on. This one is inspired by the top-down Zeldas and Zelda-likes that came out on Game Boy Color. This game has been delayed a bit. They likely just needed to put some final polish on top of it, and it appears that they have, based on the reviews that I read. It is released on PC, PS5, Switch 1, Switch 2, Xbox Series X, Series S. It is on multiple consoles, so no matter where you want to play this, you can definitely pick it up. Although, we'll probably make a good argument for why Switch is a great place to play. It also has a collective 92 Metacritic score at the moment that I'm recording this, which is pretty phenomenal. That puts it up there with one of, if not the kind of highest scored games for 2026 at the moment, which is pretty impressive. Let's start with the best reviews up front. IGN gave it a 10 out of 10, writing a big game in a small package and an absolute masterpiece of an adventure. Samuel Claiborne wrote this review, and I'm just going to read his opening paragraph. After the opening hour of Mina the Hollower, I found myself dropped into a hostile world with no obviously correct path to follow and roaming enemies that could kill me in just a few hits no matter what direction I chose. That's about when I realized this retro RPG was hiding far more than I expected beneath the surface. And once I burrowed on in, I never wanted to come back up. Now, later in the article, he called the game tough as nails. He also mentions that the core game is built around 6 main areas of the world with a core dungeon in each area. The soundtrack is described as pure Castlevania with an exclamation point in all caps, which is exciting. There are multiple primary and secondary weapons, and there is a trinket system that will provide various power-ups depending upon how you like to optimize your play style. There's all different types of systems you can learn and experiment with in this game. Samuel also said that it scratches the same itch as Breath of the Wild and Elden Ring. And again, he gave it a 10 out of 10. Ken Talbot over at Nintendo Life gave this one a 9 out of 10, writing, Yacht Club Games has successfully made the leap from Mario-inspired side-on platforming to Zelda-style adventure, delivering another retro-styled masterpiece. Mina the Hollower is an intricate, challenging, yet accessible adventure packed with content set against a gorgeous 8-bit Gothic backdrop. His joys: gorgeous Game Boy Color-inspired visuals, flawless chiptune music and sound, staggering selection of difficulty and quality of life settings. Weapon styles feel distinctive. Sidearms and trinkets add deeper build experimentation. And his only con: easy to get lost finding the next objective. Again, that was a 9 out of 10. Because he reviewed it on Nintendo hardware, let me just read this paragraph, which I think is applicable because this is a Nintendo Switch 2 podcast. It also feels purpose-built for handheld play. The Game Boy Color-inspired visuals suit a smaller screen perfectly, and the Jake Kaufman soundtrack, best experience through portable speakers, adds even more character to the small screen experience. Performance is razor sharp in both modes and offers a stability that's noticeable during visually busy boss battles and platforming puzzles. The original Switch targets 60 frames per second, while Switch 2 has 120 frames per second support and HDR settings for those that have the display to accommodate it. So not all reviewers have been playing on Nintendo versions. Some have reviewed it on PC or PlayStation. Giovanni Colantonio over at Polygon wrote a positive review, drawing some comparisons to Bloodborne. Game Informer's Kyle Hilliard called it a refined throwback, giving it an 8.75 out of 10. He wrapped his review writing, "Mina the Hollower looks like a nostalgic throwback, and it undeniably is. But its thoughtful design and larger sensibilities make it play and feel like a contemporary video game, one that has taken the right lessons from the medium's history." Ars Technica's Kyle Orland titled his review, "Mina the Hollower is the best old-school action adventure I've played in a while." Sean Musgrave over at Nintendo Insider opened his review talking about the genius of Shovel Knight and kind of hearkening back to the days when so many of these kind of indie retro-style games got their start as Kickstarter campaigns. You might remember those days. I backed Shovel Knight on Kickstarter, so I do. He gave Mina the Hollower a 10 out of 10, writing, "Mina the Hollower is another masterpiece from Yacht Club Games. It's one of those games that only gets better the more you play it. And considering how enjoyable it is off the hop, that's really saying something." Nintendo World Report's Neil Ronigan gave it a 9 out of 10. And the pros that he shared: beautiful, pixelated visuals, clever puzzles and mechanics, gigantic world filled with secrets, oodles of gameplay modifiers, and the only con: navigation can sometimes be an issue. Ollie Welsh over at Polygon put together a review roundup, which has a few extra reviews from like Kotaku and Eurogamer. I did not cover those here, and Nintendo Life did a review roundup that featured reviews from like GameSpot and Games Radar. So I'll link to both of those roundups if you wanted to dig in. But I think that based on the reviews that I shared, you get the idea. Reviewers are very impressed with this game, and if you have kind of a penchant for those nostalgia tinged retro throwback style games, like this is going to scratch that itch for sure. I'm a Shovel Knight fan myself, so this is a day one purchase for me. Already pre-ordered, despite having a ton of games in the backlog. Just couldn't resist. Are you playing this one? I'm very curious. Let me know on Blue Sky or Instagram. I am at Switch2Pod. That's Switch with the number 2Pod. You can reach me on those platforms. I'm curious to know what you've been playing. Okay, speed round. We've got a few headlines to cover, starting with a few new game announcements. Donkey Kong 64, the Nintendo 64 title developed by Rare, will arrive on the Nintendo Switch Online Nintendo Classics Collection on June 4th. So that is 6/4, right? Very fitting for a Nintendo 64 game. It will arrive on 6/4. A port of the game Stray, published by Annapurna Games, who just did Mixtape, which I recently played, really enjoyed. They shadow dropped on Switch 2 yesterday, the game Stray. It is originally a PS5 game, I think. A few years back on Switch 1, it released in 2024, I think. You play as a cat in a futuristic sci-fi setting. This game was heavily praised. I did not play this one, but it looks great. For the next few weeks, that will be on sale for $17.99, and that's a good sale because it's originally $29.99. Also, yesterday, we received Arcade Archives 2, Ace Driver, Console Archives, Gekio Shenru, Arcade Archives 2, Tatake Big Fighter, Lollipop Chainsaw Repop, Nintendo Switch 2 edition released yesterday, Bluey's Quest for the Gold Pen. Curious to see how that reviews. It looks great. Rishi Mahjong. We have One Military Camp, One Move Away, Amanda the Adventurer 3, Roller Coaster Tycoon Classic, Nintendo Switch 2 edition, and Tohu Yukori Mountain, Nintendo Switch 2 edition. All of those games released yesterday. We're starting to get more and more just random releases on Switch 2, so I will probably have to start reading these off with more of an editorial eye instead of just sharing everything, because I have no idea what Amanda the Adventurer 3 is. I don't want to start reviewing or mentioning slop, which became a bit of an issue with the Nintendo Switch 1 in the eShop over the years. Resident Evil Requiem now has a demo that you can play. So if you haven't played that game and you're curious about it, there's a demo now available in the eShop. Publisher Acclaim, classic publisher Acclaim, announced a game called Kid Bash Super Legend. There's a trailer out for this one. It's kind of a nostalgic throwback platformer style adventure game. Looks interesting. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4 will be launching on October 23rd, 2026 on Nintendo Switch 2. First time in a while, this will be launching day and date with other platforms. I saw a headline that it'll have mouse controls, cross-play, cross-progression, so we'll keep an eye on this one as it gets closer. And then Dragon Quest had a 40th anniversary event on Wednesday. They showed off Dragon Quest 12 Beyond Dreams. No real indication of what platform it'll release on or when. There's Dragon Quest XI S Echoes of an Elusive Age Definitive Edition that will launch on Switch 2 on September 24th. This game already has a Switch 1 edition. And then they also announced the new game, Dragon Quest Monsters, The Withered World. This will hit Nintendo Switch 2, PS5, Windows, and Xbox Series X. Again, that's Dragon Quest Monsters, The Withered World. The release date for that is TBD. I think that's it for today. This is a bit of a long one. We are over the 12-minute mark. I hope that you're gearing up for a fulfilling weekend to make the most of it. I had an old boss. He always said, Monday comes fast, and that is so true. Next week marks 1 year of the podcast and 1 year of Nintendo Switch 2. So I'm excited to do a quick retrospective on all of that. Good times for Nintendo Switch. Switch2pod.com for all the things. That's Switch with the number 2 pod. A kind rating or review helps me continue to grow the show, sharing with a friend, family member, gaming community, Reddit, subreddit, Discord server, wherever you hang out with gamers goes even further. I'm off to hopefully get through the workday and then play some Mina the Hollower. I will be back on Tuesday with more news. Much love. Now go play some games.